They threw the Apache woman into the well to die. She cried for help, but only one man answered. Maria was born in a small Apache village nestled deep in the rugged hills of Arizona. The village was quiet, almost hidden, surrounded by thick forests and winding streams. Life here was simple but not always easy. Every day required effort, and everyone in the village had a role. Families worked together to grow food, care for animals, and gather water from the nearby stream. Even though life was hard, there was a rhythm to it, a sense of harmony with the land and with each other. Maria had grown up listening to the stories her elders told about the mountains, the rivers, and the spirits that watched over their people. These stories taught her respect, patience, and courage. Maria was a young woman known throughout the village for her quiet strength and gentle heart. She had a calm presence that brought comfort to those around her. She would often help the elders with chores, carrying firewood, cooking meals, and looking after the younger children. People admired her for her ability to stay calm even when problems arose. She had a smile that could light up a room, and her laughter, soft and musical, often echoed across the hills. But Maria was not just kind and caring, she was also deeply curious. From a young age, Maria loved to explore the hills around the village. She would wander along the streams, climb small cliffs, and sit under the big oak trees for hours. She loved the way the sunlight filtered through the leaves, the sound of birds singing, and the way the wind whispered through the grass. Sometimes she would bring a notebook and draw pictures of the wildflowers or sketch the animals she saw. Other times, she would simply sit and think, dreaming about life beyond the hills. Maria often wondered what lay over the distant mountains and whether the stories the elders told were true. She longed to see new places, meet new people, and learn about the world outside her village. Despite her adventurous spirit, Maria respected her family and her community deeply. She listened to her parents' advice and followed the traditions of her people. She understood the importance of helping her neighbors, of working together to ensure everyone had enough to eat, and of showing kindness even when it was difficult. Her parents had taught her that true strength was not only in the body, but in the heart and mind. Maria took this lesson to heart and tried to live her life with honesty and courage. Maria's daily life was filled with routines, small joys, and moments of learning. She would wake up early, helping to light the fire and prepare breakfast for her family. After breakfast, she often went to the fields with her mother or older siblings. They worked together to plant seeds, water the crops, and harvest vegetables. The work was tiring, but Maria found satisfaction in it. She loved seeing the fruits of her labor grow day by day. Sometimes Maria would walk to the river to fetch water. On these walks, she would pause to watch the birds or listen to the sound of water rushing over the rocks. She felt connected to everything around her, the trees, the animals, the earth, and the sky. Nature was her friend, her teacher, and her comfort. On quiet evenings, after the day's work was done, Maria would sit by the fire with her family, listening to stories and songs passed down through generations. She loved these moments because they reminded her of her roots and the values she held dear. But life in the village was not always peaceful. Occasionally, there were conflicts with neighboring villages or outsiders passing through the hills. Maria's village had learned to be cautious, to protect their land and their people. Her parents often reminded her to be careful, to stay close to the village, and to trust only those they knew well. Despite this, Maria's curiosity often led her to explore places beyond her immediate surroundings. She believed that understanding the world required courage, and she was willing to take small risks to learn more. One of Maria's favorite activities was helping the elders in the village. She enjoyed listening to their wisdom and learning from their experiences. They taught her about plants and herbs, how to recognize edible berries, and how to treat minor injuries. Maria found great joy in learning these skills because she could use them to help others. She would often accompany the elders on walks through the forest, asking questions and absorbing every lesson. She admired their knowledge and wanted to carry it forward, ensuring that the traditions and wisdom of her people would not be forgotten. Maria also had a strong sense of justice and fairness. Even as a child, she would speak up when she saw someone being treated unfairly. She believed in kindness and empathy, and she often tried to resolve small disputes among children or neighbors. People in the village trusted her because she was honest and sincere. They knew that Maria would never act out of malice or selfishness, and this made her someone everyone could rely on. Despite her responsibilities, Maria found moments for fun and play. She loved dancing during village celebrations, listening to music, and telling stories with her friends. She had a talent for making people laugh, even during difficult times. Her joy was contagious, and her presence could lift the spirits of anyone around her. Maria understood that life was a mix of work and happiness, struggle and joy, and she embraced it fully. Her dreams often took her beyond the hills she knew so well. At night, lying under a blanket of stars, she imagined what it would be like to travel to faraway lands, to meet people with different customs, and to see mountains, rivers, and cities she had only heard about in stories. These dreams gave her hope and inspiration. They reminded her that life was bigger than the small village, and that courage and determination could lead to amazing experiences. Though Maria loved the village deeply, she was aware that life was unpredictable. She had seen the challenges her people faced, from harsh weather to scarcity of food, and she knew that danger could come from unexpected places. Yet she never let fear control her. Instead, she used it to remain alert and prepared, ready to face whatever challenges might come her way. Every day, Maria worked hard, learned, explored, and dreamed. Her life seemed ordinary on the surface, but inside she carried a spirit of adventure, resilience, and hope. People around her admired her for her kindness, her curiosity, and her courage, even though they did not always understand the depth of her dreams. Maria's story was only beginning, but the foundation of her character, her strength, her wisdom, and her compassion was already clear to everyone who knew her. As the sun set over the hills, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink, Maria would often sit quietly, reflecting on the day and thinking about the future. She knew that life would not always be easy, but she also knew that she had the courage to face challenges and the determination to follow her heart. With each passing day, she grew stronger, wiser, and more connected to the world around her. Little did she know that her courage and resilience would soon be tested in ways she had never imagined, shaping her destiny and the lives of those around her forever. Life in the village continued peacefully for Maria, but she had begun to notice subtle changes around her. Outsiders had started visiting the hills more often, carrying goods and talking about new ideas and rules. Some villagers were curious about these newcomers, while others grew cautious and suspicious. Maria had always been careful and respectful towards strangers, but she noticed that the villagers' moods were shifting. Rumors spread quickly in the small community, and fear often outweighed understanding. One morning, Maria was walking toward the stream to fetch water when she overheard a group of villagers whispering. They spoke about missing supplies from the storage hut. Nobody knew exactly who was responsible, but the tension in their voices made Maria uneasy. The villagers were anxious and unsure who they could trust. Maria wanted to stay out of the discussion, but she could feel the unease settling in the air, like a heavy cloud over the village. She hurried along the path, hoping that her presence would not draw attention. As the days passed, the tension in the village grew. Some people began pointing fingers at each other, unsure of what to believe. Maria tried to remain calm and focused on her daily work, helping her family and the elders. Yet she could sense the worry spreading, creeping into conversations and gatherings. Even children seemed to notice the change, speaking in hushed tones and glancing nervously around the village. Maria wished she could ease their fears, but she understood that fear was a powerful force, often stronger than reason. One afternoon, as Maria was tending to the garden, she saw a few villagers approach her. Their faces were serious and their tone was sharp. They asked her questions about the missing supplies, questioning where she had been and what she had seen. Maria explained calmly that she had no knowledge of the missing items, but the villagers seemed unconvinced. Fear and suspicion had clouded their judgment, making it difficult for them to see the truth. Maria's heart sank, not because of the accusations, but because she realized how easily fear could turn friends into strangers. Despite the growing tension, Maria remained determined to help wherever she could. She continued her work in the village, assisting the elders, caring for the children, and maintaining her small garden. She also spent time exploring the hills, finding comfort in the familiar paths and the beauty of nature. These walks allowed her to think clearly and find inner peace amidst the uncertainty surrounding her. Maria believed that staying calm and focused was the best way to face the growing challenges. One evening, the village elders called a meeting. Everyone gathered in the central square, sitting quietly as the elders spoke. They discussed the missing supplies and the growing tension in the community. The elders expressed their concern and reminded everyone of the importance of honesty, cooperation, and careful observation. Maria listened closely, understanding that this was a pivotal moment. She realized that the fear in the village had reached a point where decisions might be made without full understanding or fairness. The meeting ended, but the whispers and glances did not stop. Some villagers continued to suspect Maria, even though she had done nothing wrong. The atmosphere became heavier, and Maria felt a growing unease. She wondered how a community that had once been so close could turn uncertain and fearful so quickly. Maria knew that she had to stay vigilant, but she also hoped that reason and kindness would guide the villagers' actions. A few days later, Maria noticed a small group of villagers acting differently toward her. They avoided her gaze and spoke quietly when she was near. Maria felt a sense of isolation for the first time. She had always been surrounded by people who respected her, but now she could feel the distance growing. Despite this, Maria did not let fear control her. She continued her daily routine, carrying water, helping with chores, and spending time with the elders who trusted her. Her determination to remain strong and honest became her anchor in an uncertain world. One morning, while collecting herbs near the edge of the village, Maria noticed unusual activity near the storage hut. She saw people moving quickly and whispering urgently. Maria observed from a distance, unsure of what was happening. She realized that misunderstandings could escalate quickly if no one acted carefully. Maria wanted to help, but she also understood that stepping forward without proof could worsen the situation. She decided to watch quietly, hoping to gather information before taking any action. As she observed, Maria saw a small act of carelessness that may have led to the missing supplies. It was a simple mistake, not intentional theft. Maria understood that accidents happen, but she also knew that fear and suspicion could turn a simple mistake into a major problem. She considered explaining what she saw to the elders, but she hesitated. She did not want to create more tension or anger. Instead, she thought carefully about the best way to approach the situation, knowing that patience and understanding could prevent harm. During this time, Maria also began noticing how some villagers treated others differently based on rumors or assumptions. She saw friends ignoring each other and neighbors speaking harshly over small disagreements. Maria realized that fear was changing the community, creating divisions where there had once been trust. She felt sadness for her village, but also a strong desire to act wisely. She believed that clarity, patience, and calm reasoning could help restore peace. One afternoon, Maria decided to talk to a few of the villagers privately. She spoke gently, explaining what she had observed near the storage hut. She emphasized that accidents happen and that it was important to remain fair and cautious. Some villagers listened and nodded, understanding her point. Others were still hesitant, unsure whether to trust her words. Maria understood that changing minds takes time, and she was willing to wait, believing that honesty and clarity would eventually win over fear and suspicion. Despite the challenges, Maria continued to explore the hills and streams, finding comfort in the familiar surroundings. She noticed the birds, the flowers, and the sound of water rushing over rocks. These small moments of peace reminded her that life was larger than the misunderstandings and fears of the village. Nature became her source of strength and clarity, helping her remain patient and focused even as tensions grew around her. Over time, Maria also observed how different people reacted to uncertainty. Some villagers became defensive or critical, while others remained calm and thoughtful. Maria learned valuable lessons about human behavior, understanding that fear often causes people to act in ways they would not otherwise. She realized that her role was not only to protect herself, but also to encourage others to act with fairness and understanding. Maria's resilience began to show in subtle ways. She helped neighbors calmly resolve small disputes, shared her knowledge of herbs and plants with those who needed it, and continued her daily chores without complaint. Even as suspicion and tension lingered in the village, Maria remained a quiet source of stability. Her courage was not loud or dramatic. It was the strength to stay true to her values and act with wisdom in difficult circumstances. By the end of the second month, Maria could feel that the village was slowly starting to understand the importance of patience and careful observation. Though misunderstandings still existed, a few villagers began listening to her advice and taking a more thoughtful approach. Maria realized that change happens gradually, and that persistence, kindness, and careful reasoning could slowly guide a community back toward harmony. Despite these small victories, Maria knew that challenges were far from over. Fear and misunderstanding could return at any moment, and she had to remain alert. Yet she also felt a quiet confidence. She had faced the first wave of tension with calmness, fairness, and courage, and she knew that she had the inner strength to face what lay ahead. Maria's heart remained open, her mind sharp, and her spirit determined to protect both herself and the village she loved so dearly. The days that followed were different for Maria. Though the tension in the village had slightly eased, the air felt heavier, as if something important was about to happen. Maria could sense it in the way the villagers spoke quietly when she passed by, in the hurried glances and cautious smiles. She had learned to read the subtle signs of human emotion, and now they seemed to warn her that her life was about to change. She tried to focus on her daily routines, helping her family, tending the garden and gathering water from the stream, but her mind was restless. The hills she loved so much no longer felt entirely safe. Even nature seemed to whisper of coming challenges. One morning, Maria decided to explore a trail she had never followed before. She hoped that a walk through unfamiliar paths might clear her thoughts and calm her nerves. The trail was narrow and winding, with steep rocks on one side and a thick forest on the other. Birds sang above, and the wind rustled through the leaves, creating a soft melody that eased her tension. Maria moved carefully, stepping over roots and rocks, enjoying the quiet solitude. She felt a strange mix of excitement and unease, as though the trail itself was leading her to something significant. As she walked deeper into the hills, Maria heard voices in the distance. She paused, listening closely. The voices were raised, urgent, and a little angry. She could not make out the words clearly, but the tone told her that the villagers were gathered nearby. Curiosity tugged at her, but she also remembered the recent tension over the missing supplies. Maria knew she needed to be careful. She crouched behind a bush, peering through the branches, and saw a small group of villagers speaking among themselves. Their expressions were serious, and some of them seemed frightened. Maria's heart began to race. She wanted to understand what was happening, but also feared being noticed. She realized that she was closer to the center of the village conflict than she had ever been before. Slowly, she moved along the edge of the clearing, trying to stay hidden while listening to the conversation. The villagers were talking about the missing supplies again, but this time, their voices carried frustration and anger. Maria realized that rumors and fear had grown stronger, and that some people were now looking for someone to blame. She hoped that reason and calm thinking would prevail, but deep down, she knew the situation could escalate quickly. Suddenly, one of the villagers noticed movement near the bushes. "Who's there?" the voice called sharply. Maria froze, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew she had to act carefully. Slowly, she stepped forward with her hands raised slightly, showing that she meant no harm. "It's me," she said softly. "I was just walking." The villagers turned to look at her, some narrowing their eyes with suspicion. Maria took a deep breath and continued. "I didn't take anything, and I don't know who did. I just want to help." For a moment, there was silence. Then one of the elders stepped forward. "Maria," he said, his voice calm but firm, "we did not see you. We only heard that someone was nearby. Why were you walking alone?" Maria explained gently that she often explored the hills to find herbs, enjoy nature, and think clearly. She spoke honestly and calmly, hoping to ease their suspicion. The elder listened carefully, nodding slowly, but the other villagers seemed less convinced. Some whispered among themselves, their doubts still evident. As the conversation continued, a sudden sound startled everyone. A small basket of supplies had fallen from the edge of a nearby ledge. The villagers rushed to pick it up, and in the commotion, someone accidentally bumped into Maria. She stumbled slightly, and the villagers' expressions shifted. Some seemed to interpret her stumble as guilt, while others quickly realized it was just an accident. Maria's heart raced, but she remained calm, explaining politely that she had tripped. The elder intervened, reminding everyone to stay calm and think carefully before judging. Despite the elder's words, the villagers' suspicion did not vanish completely. Maria realized that fear could be stronger than reason, and that misunderstandings could escalate quickly if not addressed. She decided to step away from the clearing and find a quiet spot to think. She walked slowly, her mind racing with possibilities. She wondered how the village could overcome fear and suspicion without causing harm to anyone innocent. Her thoughts were interrupted by the sound of soft footsteps behind her. Maria turned and saw a young villager named Daniel approaching. Daniel had always been kind and observant, someone who tried to understand before judging. He smiled gently at Maria and spoke quietly. "I know you didn't do anything wrong," he said. "I've seen how you help everyone. Don't let their words trouble you." Maria felt a small wave of relief. Daniel's words reminded her that even in times of tension, there were people who saw the truth and acted with kindness. She thanked him and continued walking, feeling slightly more confident but still cautious. As she wandered further into the hills, Maria discovered a hidden grove filled with wildflowers she had never seen before. The vibrant colors and sweet scents calmed her heart and cleared her mind. She sat on a large rock and thought about her situation. She realized that the challenges in the village were testing her in ways she had never expected. Fear and suspicion could turn friends into strangers, but courage, honesty, and patience could bring understanding. Maria made a quiet promise to herself. She would stay true to her values no matter what happened. Suddenly, a soft cry echoed through the grove. Maria's heart leapt. She listened carefully, trying to determine the source. The sound seemed human, someone in need of help. She stood quickly, scanning the area, and saw a small figure near the edge of a shallow ravine. It was a child who had slipped while playing and was now trapped, unable to climb back up. Maria acted without hesitation. She carefully approached the child, speaking in a calm and soothing voice. "It's okay, I'm here to help," she said. Slowly and steadily, she guided the child to safety. The child clung to Maria, trembling but relieved. Maria smiled gently, comforting the child and ensuring that no harm had come to them. The experience reminded her of the importance of courage, quick thinking, and compassion. Even in the midst of fear and suspicion, there were opportunities to act with kindness and make a difference. Maria felt a renewed sense of determination, understanding that her actions could inspire trust and courage in others, even when the village was tense. When Maria returned to the village, she noticed that some of the villagers had gathered near the clearing where the supplies had fallen. They were talking quietly among themselves, still uncertain but less hostile than before. Maria decided to speak carefully, addressing the group without confrontation. She explained what she had observed, described the accident with the basket, and emphasized the importance of patience, understanding, and careful observation. Her calm and honest words began to resonate. Some villagers nodded, recognizing the truth in her explanation, while others listened thoughtfully, reconsidering their earlier assumptions. Even as she spoke, Maria realized that this was only the beginning. Fear and misunderstanding could always return, and challenges could arise at any moment. But she also understood the power of courage, honesty, and action. By staying true to herself and helping others when needed, she could create small changes that mattered. Maria's confidence grew, not from the absence of danger, but from her ability to face it with clarity, compassion, and strength. Over the next few days, Maria continued to observe the village and the hills around it. She noticed small improvements. Neighbors were speaking more kindly, misunderstandings were being addressed more patiently, and some villagers began to trust her words. Maria felt a quiet satisfaction, knowing that her actions were making a difference. At the same time, she remained aware that challenges were still ahead. Life was unpredictable, and courage would be needed in ways she could not yet imagine. One evening, as the sun set and painted the sky with shades of orange and pink, Maria sat quietly by the stream. She reflected on the events of the past weeks, the fear, the suspicion, the misunderstandings, and the moments of courage. She realized that life was full of tests, not only of strength and skill, but of character and integrity. Maria understood that her true challenge was not only to survive, but to act with wisdom, patience, and compassion, even when others doubted her. In that quiet moment, Maria made another promise to herself. No matter what challenges came next, she would stay true to her values, help those in need, and act with courage and honesty. The hills around her seemed to echo her determination, and the gentle sound of the stream whispered a quiet reassurance. Maria knew that the journey ahead would not be easy, but she was ready to face it. guided by her heart, her mind, and her unwavering spirit. After the incident with the child in the grove, Maria thought that perhaps the tension in the village was beginning to ease. Yet she could feel that things were not completely settled. There was a quiet unease lingering in the air, subtle but persistent, like the calm before a storm. She noticed the villagers watching her more closely than before, some with curiosity, some with doubt. She understood that her actions, no matter how kind or careful, could be misunderstood. But Maria's determination to do what was right had not wavered. One afternoon, as she went about her daily tasks, Maria saw a group of villagers gathered near the center of the village. Their voices were low but urgent. Curious and cautious, she approached slowly, careful not to intrude. As she drew closer, she realized that they were talking about an upcoming festival and the preparations that had to be made. The festival was an important event, a time when the village came together to celebrate the harvest, honor traditions, and strengthen bonds. Normally, Maria would have been excited to help, but now she sensed that even joyful events could bring complications when the villagers were still tense. Maria decided to offer her help, knowing that her presence could encourage unity. She approached the elders and asked if she could assist in any way. One of the elders, a kind woman named Ayana, nodded and smiled. "Maria, your help is always welcome," she said. "We are preparing for the festival, and your skill and care will make it brighter for everyone." Maria felt a small relief in her heart. Perhaps this could be a way to restore trust and remind the villagers of the importance of working together. Over the next few days, Maria threw herself into the preparations. She helped gather flowers, arrange decorations, and prepare food. She worked alongside neighbors she had once feared would ignore or criticize her. Slowly, she noticed subtle changes. The children smiled more freely. Some villagers greeted her warmly, and a few even asked for her advice on tasks. Maria felt a quiet hope that the festival might become a turning point, a moment for the village to remember the value of cooperation, understanding, and trust. But one morning, as Maria was walking to the stream to collect water, she overheard hushed conversations that made her heart tighten. Some villagers were still whispering about the missing supplies, now linking the issue to her once again. Maria felt a mixture of sadness and determination. She knew that fear and suspicion could linger longer than one good deed. She also understood that sometimes people needed proof, patience, and courage to overcome their doubts. Maria resolved that she would not allow their misunderstanding to define her actions or her spirit. That afternoon, Maria decided to confront the problem carefully. She approached the villagers who had been whispering, speaking in a calm and respectful tone. "I know there are concerns," she said, "but I have nothing to hide and I only want to help. Please give me a chance to show that I mean no harm." Some villagers paused, their expressions softening. Others remained wary, still influenced by fear and rumors. Maria realized that change would take time, but she was willing to persist, believing that honesty and patience could win over suspicion. As the days passed, Maria continued her work and interactions with the villagers, but she also sensed that something unexpected might happen soon. One evening, while walking near the outskirts of the village, she noticed a group of outsiders approaching. They moved cautiously, observing the village from a distance. Maria's heart beat faster, not from fear but from concern. She knew that the arrival of strangers could spark curiosity, anxiety, or even conflict. She quickly returned to the village to inform the elders, her voice calm but urgent. The elders gathered immediately, discussing how to welcome the visitors safely while protecting the village. Maria suggested a cautious but friendly approach, offering assistance and guidance to the newcomers. "We should greet them with kindness," she said, "so that they feel welcome and safe. This way, fear will not take hold of us." The elders nodded, appreciating her wisdom. Maria felt a quiet satisfaction, knowing that her experience with the villagers' tension had prepared her to act thoughtfully in challenging situations. The next morning, Maria accompanied a small group of villagers to meet the newcomers. The strangers appeared tired but friendly, carrying baskets of goods and offering smiles. Maria stepped forward, speaking kindly and introducing herself and the village. She guided them through the village, explaining the customs and traditions and helping to ease any confusion or discomfort. The visitors responded warmly, clearly appreciating her calm and understanding presence. By the end of the day, Maria realized that her actions had prevented misunderstanding and helped create a sense of trust. Even with this success, Maria knew that challenges were far from over. She could still sense lingering suspicion in parts of the village. Some villagers were hesitant, unsure whether to trust her completely. Maria understood that trust was fragile and could be influenced by small events. She resolved to remain consistent, patient, and honest, knowing that her courage and integrity were the only ways to overcome doubt. One afternoon, as Maria was collecting herbs near the stream, she noticed a sudden commotion near the well at the edge of the village. A small crowd had gathered, their voices full of concern. Curious and cautious, Maria hurried toward them. When she arrived, she saw that a villager had accidentally dropped a basket near the edge, and it had fallen close to the well. The situation could have been dangerous, but thankfully, no one was hurt. Maria quickly stepped forward, guiding the villagers to move carefully and safely retrieve the basket. Her calm actions during the incident were noticed by many villagers. They began to realize that her intentions were always to help, not harm. Slowly, the mood in the village started to shift. People began to smile more openly, children laughed without fear, and neighbors exchanged greetings with warmth. Maria felt a quiet sense of accomplishment, knowing that her courage, patience, and wisdom were helping to restore harmony. Despite this progress, Maria remained aware that life was unpredictable. She continued her daily routines, helping her family, tending the garden, and assisting with preparations for the festival. She also spent time observing the hills, streams, and forests, finding strength and clarity in the beauty of nature. Each walk, each quiet moment, reminded her that courage and wisdom were as much about inner strength as external action. As the festival approached, the villagers began to come together in a way they had not for weeks. Maria helped coordinate decorations, guided children in preparing songs and dances, and shared her knowledge of plants for food and medicine. She noticed the small smiles, the quiet gestures of cooperation, and the renewed sense of trust growing among the villagers. Maria understood that these small actions, repeated consistently, were rebuilding the bonds that fear and suspicion had weakened. Finally, the day of the festival arrived. The village was filled with color, laughter, and music. Maria moved among the people, helping where needed and sharing quiet words of encouragement. The elders expressed their gratitude for her efforts, and even those who had been most doubtful began to recognize her sincerity and kindness. Maria felt a sense of fulfillment, knowing that her courage and dedication had helped the village overcome a difficult time. That evening, as the festival drew to a close, Maria walked quietly to the edge of the hills. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. She reflected on the past weeks, the tension, the suspicion, the small acts of courage, and the moments of compassion. She realized that challenges would always arise, but true strength came from patience, honesty, and the willingness to help others. Maria felt a quiet confidence that no matter what difficulties lay ahead, she could face them with wisdom, courage, and kindness. The events of the past weeks had changed the village, but they had also changed Maria. She had faced fear and suspicion, acted with bravery, and helped others find calm and understanding. She knew that the journey was far from over, and that life would continue to test her in unexpected ways. Yet she also understood that her actions, guided by integrity and compassion, had the power to inspire trust and bring people together. As Maria looked out over the hills and the village below, she felt a deep sense of connection to her home and her people. She understood that even in times of uncertainty, courage, patience, and kindness could create change. Her heart was filled with quiet hope and determination, knowing that whatever came next, she had the strength and wisdom to face it. The days after the festival were quiet but full of a gentle, hopeful energy. The village had returned to its normal rhythm, but there was a noticeable change in the way people interacted. Conversations were warmer, smiles were easier, and trust had begun to grow again. Maria noticed it in the way neighbors greeted each other, the way children laughed freely, and the small gestures of kindness that now seemed to happen naturally. She felt a quiet satisfaction, knowing that the efforts of the past weeks had helped restore harmony. Maria's own life felt calmer as well. She continued her daily routines, helping her family with chores, tending the garden, and assisting the elders. But now, there was a sense of ease in her steps. She no longer felt the same weight of suspicion pressing down on her. The villagers had begun to recognize her sincerity, and they valued her guidance and presence. Maria understood that trust and respect were not given lightly, and that they were the result of patience, honesty, and consistent action. One morning, Maria decided to take a long walk through the hills she had always loved. The sun rose over the peaks, casting a warm golden light on the forest and streams below. She breathed deeply, savoring the fresh air and the peaceful sounds of nature. The hills had always been her sanctuary, a place to think and find strength. Today, they felt even more comforting, as if the land itself was acknowledging her courage and resilience. She walked slowly, noticing the wildflowers, the birds, and the gentle rustle of the leaves. Every step reminded her of how far she had come. As she walked, Maria reflected on the events that had tested her over the past weeks. She remembered the fear and suspicion that had gripped the village, the whispers of doubt, and the moments when she had felt isolated. But she also remembered the courage she had found within herself, the moments of calm and kindness, and the times when she had helped others. Maria realized that these experiences had shaped her, teaching her the true meaning of strength, not just physical endurance, but patience, wisdom, and the ability to act with compassion. Maria also thought about the villagers who had doubted her at first. She did not feel anger toward them. Instead, she felt understanding. She knew that fear could make people act in ways they would not normally choose. She understood that trust had to be earned, and that sometimes people needed time to see the truth. Maria felt proud that, through her actions, she had helped others recognize honesty, kindness, and courage. She hoped that the lessons she had learned would continue to guide the village in the future. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, Maria reached a quiet clearing overlooking the village. She sat on a large rock and watched the small houses, the gardens, and the people moving about their daily routines. She felt a deep sense of connection to her home, her community, and the land itself. Maria realized that she had always been a part of something larger than herself, and that her actions had the power to influence the lives of those around her. This realization filled her with quiet confidence and purpose. While Maria enjoyed the peace of the moment, she also understood that life would continue to bring challenges. The hills could be unpredictable, weather could change suddenly, and misunderstandings could arise again. But she was no longer afraid of what might come. She knew that she had the inner strength, patience, and wisdom to face whatever challenges appeared. Maria felt ready, not because life would be easy, but because she had learned how to act with courage, integrity, and compassion in any situation. That afternoon, Maria returned to the village and visited the elders. She shared her observations about the hills, the streams, and the changes she had noticed in the environment. The elders listened with interest, appreciating her careful attention and thoughtful insights. Maria also spoke about the recent events in the village, emphasizing the importance of patience, understanding, and trust. The elders nodded, recognizing her wisdom and the positive influence she had had on the community. Maria felt a quiet pride, knowing that she had contributed to the well-being of her village in meaningful ways. In the following days, Maria continued to help in the village, but she also took time for personal growth. She began to explore new areas of the hills, observing the wildlife and learning more about the plants and trees. She sketched what she saw, keeping a small notebook of her discoveries. These explorations were both educational and calming, giving her a sense of accomplishment and peace. Maria understood that learning and curiosity were important parts of life, and she embraced them fully. One evening, as the village settled down for the night, Maria sat by the stream with a few of the children. She shared stories of the hills, the animals, and the lessons she had learned about courage and kindness. The children listened intently, their eyes wide with wonder. Maria felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing that she was passing on wisdom to the next generation. She hoped that the lessons of patience, compassion, and courage would stay with them, guiding their actions in the future. As the seasons began to change, Maria noticed the first signs of autumn in the hills, the leaves turning golden, the air growing crisp, and the days becoming shorter. She felt a sense of continuity and renewal, understanding that life was a cycle of growth, challenge, and reflection. Maria's experiences had taught her that every challenge was an opportunity to learn, and every moment of kindness could inspire change. She carried this understanding with her, feeling both grateful and empowered. One day, while walking through the village, Maria saw some of the villagers working together to repair a small bridge over the stream. They were laughing, sharing tools, and helping one another with care. Maria smiled, realizing that the community had grown stronger through the experiences of the past weeks. She remembered how fear and suspicion had once divided them, and now she saw unity, cooperation, and trust taking their place. Maria felt a quiet joy, knowing that her efforts had played a role in this transformation. As the sun set over the hills, Maria reflected on her journey. She remembered the moments of doubt, fear, and uncertainty, but she also remembered the moments of courage, kindness, and connection. She understood that life would continue to bring challenges, but she felt ready to face them with patience, wisdom, and a calm heart. Maria realized that her greatest strength was not in avoiding difficulty, but in acting with integrity and compassion, even when circumstances were uncertain. In the days that followed, Maria became a respected figure in the village. People came to her for advice, guidance, and support. She helped resolve conflicts, guided celebrations, and shared her knowledge of the hills and the plants. But Maria remained humble, knowing that her role was not to control, but to support, encourage, and inspire. She continued to live simply, finding joy in the small moments of life, the beauty of nature, and the connections with her family and community. Maria also took time to explore her own dreams and aspirations. She often sat quietly under the trees, imagining what the future might hold. She thought about traveling beyond the hills, meeting new people, and learning about the wider world. Yet she also understood the importance of staying connected to her roots, her family, and the village that had shaped her. Maria realized that she could carry the lessons of courage, compassion, and patience wherever she went, and that these values would guide her in all her future endeavors. One peaceful evening, Maria stood at the edge of the hills, looking out over the village and the streams below. The sky was painted with shades of orange and purple, and the wind carried the soft scent of wildflowers. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for her family, for her community, and for the experiences that had taught her so much. Maria understood that life was a journey of learning, growth, and connection, and she was ready to embrace it fully. As she walked back to the village, Maria felt a quiet strength within her. She knew that she had faced challenges, uncertainty, and fear, and that she had acted with courage, integrity, and compassion. She also knew that her actions had inspired trust, understanding, and unity in her community. Maria smiled, feeling a sense of peace and fulfillment. She had learned that true strength comes from the heart, and that even small acts of kindness can create meaningful change. In the days, months, and years that followed, Maria continued to live with courage, patience, and compassion. She remained a guiding presence in her village, helping others navigate challenges and celebrate joys. Her story became a quiet legend, a reminder that fear and suspicion can be overcome through honesty, kindness, and wisdom. Maria's life was not without difficulty, but she faced every moment with a calm heart, a sharp mind, and an unwavering spirit. And so Maria's journey came full circle. From the quiet hills where she had grown up, to the challenges that tested her courage, and finally to the peace and trust she helped restore, her story was one of resilience, compassion, and hope. Maria knew that life would continue to bring changes, but she also knew that she had the strength and wisdom to meet them. Her heart remained open, her mind clear, and her spirit unbroken, a testament to the power of courage, integrity, and kindness in the face of life's uncertainties.